Good evening once again. It's a pleasure being back here with you with another presentation of our broadcast here in the Issues Room. We're coming to you live here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our Issues Room page. We'd like to welcome you, our viewers, wherever you are, to this broadcast. It is a pleasure having you here with us again on our 182nd edition. You and I know that the Issues Room is here on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we broadcast in Liberia at 11 p.m. As soon as the time changes, we'll be going back to midnight in the Greenwich time zone. But in the meantime, wherever you are, picking up signal, we say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us here with this broadcast. I'm Volcano Shelton. I'll be joined shortly by my colleagues. But in the meantime, we'd like to remind you that our broadcast tonight will be featuring the vice standard bearer of the Liberian People's Party. Um, and his name is Dr. Emmanuel Yarkpawolo. He is teaming up with Councillor Tiawan Saye Gongloe, uh, with the LPP, and the motto is cleaning corruption in Liberia. So they symbolize the cleaning of corruption with a broom, and I'm sure he has his broom here tonight, and he will be sweeping uh, our studio. In the meantime, we'd like to say thank you so much for sharing the link for you, Raymond Clark. It's a pleasure being back here. We seem to have rectified our technical issues, especially with the gadget, the connectivity, and the internet. It's very stable. Last broadcast was sweet, and this broadcast seemed to be same. So let me just bring Moses Sandy in. That's what we have to do. Spend some money to do the best we can to bring the best broadcast in the house. And so Moses, good to see you. You look a little too lethargic. What's going on? I don't see anything coming from your end. You don't. I'm not hearing you, Moses. You're still talking, but I can't hear you. All right, let me put you backstage while you try to remedy that situation. But again, quickly, we in the campaign season as it is, and all of the political candidates, presidential, whether legislators, are all in high spirit. As you can see, everywhere you turn in the country, something is going on. All day, every day, citizens, journalists are making things available. And so we're not short of anything happening on the grounds. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it because, people will just pull up their phones and go live right away. And again, we think that it helps disseminate the information needed. It helps to increase the audience. It provides, the conduit through which we in the diaspora can stay connected to the happenings in the country. And of course, yes, the campaign season, we see JNB, we see Mr. Gongloe, we see President Weah, we see Alexander Cummings. I haven't seen much of the other candidates. I don't know uh, what they're doing or whether they are campaigning, but I think it's just the big four that we see a lot of stuff on Facebook. Mr. Weah, Mr. Boyka, Mr. Cummings, Mr. Gongloe. We better see the other candidates. So let's hope that, I would like to see the other candidates. I would like to see what they're doing. And, usually people say, okay, that person will only be, his vote will only come from his family or his neighbors, but still they want to be president. So from what it sounds like or seem to be, we have four interesting candidates in this race. Not to say we take anything away from the other candidates, but the four big ones here, we have one of the big ones here and the vice standard bearer. I hope that Moses can get his act together, but in the meantime, I'd like to just bring in our guest because we'll not do trending news considering where we are. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Emmanuel Yarkpawolo. Uh, Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation to be here with us for the first time in the Issues Room. We are the alternative social media platform coming out of Liberia to discuss the things that matter to our country, the continent of Africa, and those of us here in the diaspora. It's a pleasure having you, sir. Welcome.
Wonderful, Shathan. Very nice to be here this evening, talking to our people and to you in the diaspora. And those who in Liberia know it's late, but some people still follow up during the night or tomorrow and the weeks to come, do what is short. So thank you to what all you do for Liberia, for the media. Without the media, we cannot have a surviving democracy. So I'm happy to be here to share the vision of the Learning Counselor, Tiawan Saye Gongloe.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Let me just
Let me
bring
just bring.
my colleague here quick, Alphonso Yenu, who is, I will call, I don't know, are you a protege of Councillor Gonglo?
Well, I did I did work with Councilor Gonglo at the Justice and Peace Commission.
Okay.
I was information officer, and he was one of our legal aid lawyers. So we worked together for years. So
Well,
I don't know if I'll describe that as a protege or not.
okay. No, I mean, I thought you learned under him some kind of way, he
Well,
rubs off.
yes. Well, I mean, of course, coming up as a young man and working with him and, going on cases at the police station on behalf of journalists, or going to the prison, on behalf of people who were detained beyond the statutory period, etc. I can describe that as learning.
Okay. Okay. So, Dr. Yakpawolo is yours. He's here tonight. Uh, he's the vice standard bearer of Councillor Gonglo. Wherever
Yeah.
he came, he's in the country and, going from place to place, spreading the word because his last message was he's confident that they're going to win the elections. They have the blueprint,
Hmm.
10-point agenda to
Hmm.
save the country. So,
Hmm. Well, Dr. Yagbawolo, good to meet you and welcome to the Issues Room. I'm sure Volcano has already welcomed you on behalf of all of us. So, but I just wanted to add my voice as well. Welcome, and yeah, we and I'm sure the public are interested in hearing about your 10-point blueprint, about you personally, as an individual, and also about the Council of Gonglo. If you have anything additional to add, I'm assuming Volcano is wanting me to go ahead, start shooting with some questions,
yeah,
discussion.
I was just gonna
Okay.
tell him that I received his website and I looked on it.
Okay.
Very impressive for his accomplishments. But maybe he just want to do a quick summary. Then we'll go into questioning. Uh,
Yeah.
because a lot of people say, "But where did Yakpawolo come from?" All along, we don't know Yakpawolo, even though we know Gonglo. So you see, there is a contrast here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bwaga brings Jeremiah Kuhn. Jeremiah Kuhn is popular. He already, a senator. Bromsky went all not Bromsky or Cummings went all around. He hustle. He finally set up for Charlie Bromsky, right? We have said I will repeat with my old man. Saying we took it the first time, I will go with her. But then here comes Mr. Gonglo. He come with Yakpa Wolo, where the people say didn't know the man. So let's hear from him in a summary. Then we'll start this conversation. So Doc, take it
Take
from
it
there.
from there. Wonderful, and Volcano. Thank you very much, and thank you, Alfonso, for you joining in there, and thank you also, Moses, for coming on. Yes, some people say they don't know me, but some people do know me. Of course, not everybody can know everybody. Especially so, those who I sometimes the loud talkers are the one that people take notice of. Those of us who work quietly, trying to change society, until somebody like the learning counselor can bring me into prominence of this nature. Some people will say they don't know me. People don't know me in the development community, both in Liberia and outside of Liberia. In the NGO sector, people don't know me. In the land right community, those who study land issues and poverty around the world, we are a very small community, right? People don't know me through my writing and what all we've done. But for the sake of the argument, I think it's important to give a summary of my background, which is my story I have been told. It resembles a lot of Liberians, especially young people, many of whom think that all is lost. I just want to share with them that my story, you can have a stake in it to say that everything is not lost. My name is Dr. Emmanuel Yarkpawolo, and I call this the doctor part. I don't call it that much because the PhD I obtained, how do we use it to change society is what matters. So you can call me Emmanuel, you can call me Yarkpawolo, you can call me Ure. That's totally fine. I'm not going to take offense of it. But I was born in a small village in Bon County. The village is called Gomu, and I did not have chance to go to school. My mother passed away when I was just 2.5 years old. I didn't get to know her. My father had no formal education, so we lived on the farm, farming, doing everything we do in the village. But I remember 1989 telling him that I wanted to go to school. At that point, he promised to send me to school to a nearby town where they had school, government school. But 1990, the war started. So that really spoiled the whole thing. I did not go to school until the 1994 Ulimbo War that came from Lofa. That war was too dirty. So we ran and went into Guinea. It was in Guinea I wanted to go to school still in 1994. I went to live with a sister of mine who I told her I wanted to go to school. She and her husband, they were getting ready to send me to a French school. But then she told ill in about 2, 3 weeks. She passed away. So the dream died. I returned to another refugee camp called the Beta Refugee Camp, where I told my father I wanted to school, stay go to school. He said I was too old. So he sent me to learn blacksmith. And my boss, he stayed in a town called Shankbala in district number 4 in Bon County today. I went to him and I stayed with him for about 3 weeks, learning how to make colors and the rest of it. I stayed ran away. I wanted to go to school. So to cut long story short, I started school for the first time in September 1995, almost 14 years old. By 2005, I graduated from high school, Limela High School, student council president and the valedictorian, carrying 8 awards out of 12 subjects. I went to Cuttington. I finished Cuttington in 3 years instead of 4. I completed a little over 125 credits in 3 semesters, 2 vacation, 6 semesters, 2 vacation schools. And so my graduating class was 2009, but I finished before that time. So I graduated 2008. I went back to Cuttington. I got a second master's degree, and then I got a scholarship, came to the U.S., the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I pursued a second master's degree, graduated 2013. By 2018, I obtained a doctor of philosophy in the field called political ecology, studying the root causes of poverty and environmental impact. At that point, that was in 2018. At that point, I was 37 years old. So started school at the age of almost 14, got a PhD and 2 master's degree at the age of 37, becoming one of the top most educated person in the United States and by extension in the world. But what do you do with education? I'm making my mind to go back to Liberia. And some people think that I was crazy. Why am I going to Liberia? I can stay in the US and make a lot of money. University of Wisconsin is a world top university. In fact, today I read the ranking of University of Wisconsin Madison is number 2 public universities in the United States. It comes number 2 as of today's statistics. So when you graduate from that type of institution, university run behind you to teach here in the US and in Europe as well. But my single purpose of going to Liberia was to help pass the land right law. Why? Because I have started researching that law since 2010. And my master's here at the university, my thesis went to inform the policy that was being developed. And over 90% of my recommendation enter into that policy. Of course, working with civil society and other researchers as well. So that law, it was drafted before the Ebola crisis in 2014. But after that, the law got stored in the corridors of the National Legislature. So I went back with the focus of helping civil society to pass that law. It will have some time. I can talk about the law, what is in it, why it's so much important for the development of Liberia. I went back to Liberia and then work there, and then we passed a law. So one of the first instruments that Judge we assigned as president was the land right law. All right. So that law passed, and I stayed in Liberia. I started working with volunteering with a college that I took from vocational program to associate degree program. By last year 2022, it was being promoted to full bachelor degree granting institution. That's the Salvation Army Polytechnic opposite City Hall. I've been doing that voluntarily. And I founded an NGO here called One Life Liberia, established here in the US and also in Liberia. I use that NGO to build schools, including the village where I grew up without school. We have school there today with running water, provide agricultural services, and just been doing bunch of volunteer work. I support a lot of institutions that try to do work in Liberia in terms of what I'm looking for funding to support them and the rest of it. That's what I was doing. Then I decided to enter in the government, and I was entering as a representative because also know that no other country in the world have been developed without serious government. And serious government only comes about when you have serious people in government as well. So for that reason, I decided to enter government, but to represent my people. So I started to run as an independent candidate for District Number 4 in Bond County. I was doing that, and then I got this call, and we're doing something completely revolutionary. And what we're going to do if we are entered the House of Representatives, if we have some time tonight on the show, I'll be able to explain what we're doing. We're going to win that election. Just at the end of it all, after my document were all prepared, over 300, I mean, about 300 signatures, everything they need require for an independent candidate, which is almost like a political party, very expensive stuff. We got everything ready. Then I got this call by the councillor through a team of lawyers called themselves the search committee, asking me to be his vice presidential candidate. Then we built consensus all the way from the college where I serve as president to my friends, my family, to the district, my leadership, to the district other council and the Bon County. We build larger consensus. And then in a very beautiful program, the people of District Number 4 took my hands, literally laid my hand in the hands of the learning counselor to say that you want him, we agree. He can go and work with you to develop the country. We miss him because he is going to be our representative, but we think that this is a bigger call for the entire country. And we trust our son, and you trusting him, we are happy. So that when we started now on this whole path of vice presidential candidacy for the Liberian People Party and the Learning Councillor, Tiawan Saye Gongloe. So I think those are my opening statements. They're quite summary. We can't really go in detail too much until when questions come for clarity, we can be able to answer the questions.
So I have a clip here. Could you oh no, I got you. Let me do that. Okay. Anyway, I have a clip here that I will play, but I just wanted to understand when you went to grade school, meaning ABC in Liberian context, you were speaking English or Unepele? Because you're English correct now, my man.
Yes. So up to that point, I was speaking Pele predominantly with some form of pidgin English because even in the village, especially during the war, one of our brother family uncles came to the village. He taught us Christianity. He taught us the Bible and told the name Emmanuel mean God is with us. So I gave myself that name. And at that point, we started to learn small English in between, especially, the rebels will come. They were all speaking English and the rest of it. So we learned it little by little, but I was speaking Pele at the point I entered school more than English. I actually started learning English when I first entered school.
Thank you. Just wanted to understand that. Let me go to this clip quick that I was able to pull. And I think this is the ceremony you were talking about here. So let's see from there, then we'll come into the full conversation.
Now, I want to recognize the person without whom I could not have stood here. They say behind every powerful man is a real strong woman. The one who makes it happen. I'm standing here today because I have a very strong woman behind me. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even know how to praise her. But she's loving, she's loyal, she's intelligent, she's hardworking, she's everything. I want to recognize Sony. Please have your seats. And if I didn't recognize one lady here, maybe I will have a divorce tomorrow. My sister-in-law, Mrs. Asata Hodge, is somewhere in the audience. She came from America and she said she had to be here at this program. All right, she's somewhere. Yeah. And then I'll recognize someone who is not official. People don't realize that. But about 7-8 years ago, a well-known barber in Monrovia said, "Look, I think you should run for the presidency." And he doesn't expect me to recognize him, but I recognize him. I said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want to be a presidential barber." I said, "Debe, where is he?" I said, "Debe." All he wants to be is to be a president's barber. And be one of those people behind me. Now, I want to recognize a powerful son of District 4. Very powerful. A young man who, if you hear his story, is an inspiration to all young people in Liberia who have learned to be stimulated by hardship rather than surrendering to hardship. A man who went to school at the age of 13, going 14, and today did everything so fast, finished high school in 10 years, did his high school. Went to Cotton and spent only 3 years for a 4-year degree, while serving as student council president. And not enough. What I like about him most is the fact that he's so humble. The man was doing master's degree and he wanted to ask for a job at the Salvation Army Polytechnic. He said, "I'm looking for a job." And he said, "The only job we have here is a janitorial job for $50 a month." He said, "I will take it." Today in Liberia, some people who are high school graduates will not take a janitorial job. This man was doing master's degree and he took a janitorial job. He got his master's, work and learn commission. By the power of his mind and hard work, he was given a scholarship. He went to America. He did another master's and got scholarship to do PhD. He has 2 masters and a PhD. Today he teaches university students in Liberia, but he's also sitting and teaching university. In fact, graduate students who are doing masters and PhD in the United States of America. Yeah. So I pray to God for a good partner for us to reshape the destiny of this country. I've said to Liberian people, you can call it president, but I just want to be a project manager to change Liberia's bad story for the better. Because Liberia is a naturally rich country. God gave us rainfall, sunshine, fertile soil. Under the soil, we have gold, we have diamond, we have uranium, we have iron ore, we have so many mineral resources. We are not naturally poor. We are poor by choice because on election day, we take bag of rice, we take money, we take liquor, we take election time scholarship, and we vote the wrong people in power. And this has kept us backwards. I say, I want to change Liberia, but I cannot do it alone. God gave me a partner to help me change Liberia's story for the better. So names are coming to me. And I kept praying to God, give me the right person. Liberia does not need to suffer. We have money here, my people. We want rule of law. We want to fight corruption because government is not a place to steal, it is a place to serve. I strongly believe that every child can go to school in Liberia from kindergarten to 12th grade without the parents being in any government school. I strongly believe that there should be technical and vocational schools in 15 countries that should be free for every Liberian to attend and not just be motorcycle riders. I strongly believe that we can eliminate illiteracy in 2 years. I strongly believe that our education system will be the best. We don't need what they call volunteer teachers. We need government report teachers in every school, and it is possible, it is doable.
So, Doc, I think that's some of the highlights here. This was the ceremony that you were presented to Mr. Gongloe. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So,
so
so,
gentlemen,
gentlemen,
as Doc,
as Doc,
let's
let's
engage.
engage.
Just wanted to set the tune a little bit, as you can see. So he's here with us.
That Dr. Yarkpawolo, it's a pleasure meeting you. As I listen to you, it seems that you have a very impressive resume. So let me congratulate you for that. And I would like to begin my line of questioning, first on a personal level, and then maybe later we can go to the nitty gritty of the discussion tonight. I noticed that you and your standard bearer, Councillor Gongloe, whenever you appear in public, you are wearing the national color. Why? Is it how you call it, a party or outfit? Or why you guys chose to continuously wear the national color? Why?
Excellent questions, Mr. Sandy. We are very, there's a purpose, and we do this on purpose.
Hmm.
Uh, we dearly have Liberia, when they say you have the country at heart, like people can say. And Liberia problems, to me, they are really sad. This country not supposed to be like this. We are trying to stand out for Liberia in the way that we do it symbolically by wearing the national color, to be a proud Liberian, in the way that if we're given the chance, what in our mind in terms of how to change this country's story. So we are very deliberate about this, and we wear it all the time. When we appear in gathering, when the UN call for presidential and vice presidential candidates, we appear there together. Some people think that we're twins, but of course he's older than me. But whenever we enter that room, if you are in that room, you'll see the spirit that we carry around the room. Whether it could be greeting everybody, whether it could be, and everyone is almost attracted to us when we're in that room, including the sitting president and just everybody. So we carry this with the intention that this is for Liberia, we are for Liberia, and we also carry the broom. These are hard principles, these are hard ideologies, but we're trying to symbolize it also so people can see it physically, what we mean about Liberia and what we're planning to do. And that's why we wear these clothes all the time when we appear in public. And I'm going to be wearing this all the time on the election day. And sometimes after election, I'll also wear it many times.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. I just want to put me at this, Moses. I'm sorry. I'll give it back
Yes.
to you. I just want to
Mhm.
piggyback on your question um, uh, regarding the attire. So I saw Dr. Yuri Yakbawolo said this is a symbol to symbolize that they have the country in a hat. Um, my question, in addition to that, is did you wear these colors before you became candidates, or you started wearing them since you became candidates? That's when you realize or think that it's necessary to wear them to create this or to create a symbol that you are now seeking to create.
I, I got inspired by the political leader, Councillor Gonglo. I saw him wearing these. Sometimes I wore them before, but not as constant as I'm doing now. Am I still on?
You're good. Go
You're good.
ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
Keep going.
So okay, not that I'm doing now. Actually, when you check my dress code in the past, the short coat, the one they call higher height, the one that President Todba used to wear, that's the one I wore most of the time because I'm inspired by President Todba, his leadership. So I took that as that what I wore most of the time. This particular one, I can't take credit for it. I saw my leader wearing it, and he explained to me the reason why he wearing it, and I decided to follow him because I agree with everything he said, and then started wearing it too. So I'm inspired by the political leader, Councillor Tiawan Saye Gongloe.
My next, my next question to you, help the many people who are watching you tonight. Uh, Talk about your family. Do you have a family? Are you a family man?
Thank you very much. Excellent question, and thank you for bringing that. Sometimes I summarize so much, sometimes I skip it. I'm a family man. Family from all sides, right? What I could buy my biological, my father's side, brothers and sisters. I'm second to the last born of 13 children, so that's a larger family from different mothers. Um, but I'm married. I'm married to Mrs. Vivian Yuri Yakpawolo, and we have children. We have 5 kids, one girl and 4 boys. Uh, we are very proud of them. God has helped us with them to take care of them. We are taking care of them. So yes, and they are very dear to me, and I try as much as possible to be like a role model to them. That responsibility, and I think my biggest fans is my wife, who believe in me so much.
Is your
Is your
immediate
immediate family
based
based
in
in
Liberia or
Liberia or
abroad?
abroad? When I was serving as a student here, I managed to get my wife and all the kids here in the U.S. But I returned to Liberia. They've been here. We thought it's wise for the kids to grow up in Liberia and learn Liberian culture. For that reason, I took 2 of our kids to Liberia, and later on, my wife joined me with the rest of them. 2 is in the U.S. One joined the U.S. military, so he's a U.S. Army officer. The other one is in college. Both of them are in the U.S. The rest of the kids and my wife are in Liberia with me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Um, yeah, I guess we've done the rounds, except for Kano, you want to ask a personal family related story. I want to assume we've done the rounds with family issues and personal. We could come back to it. But one of the things you said, Dr. Yakbawolo, is that you were running as an independent Canadian district number 4 in Bond County. Does that mean that you were not a member of the LPP, and you were not, or were you a member of any political party at all, or were you just plucked out of you know the independent member of any political?
I have not been a member of any political party in Liberia, and I was running as an independent candidate. The reason was simple. Uh, this idea of one tree cannot make a forest. In the same program that Volcano showed earlier, in that program, a man spoke. His name is Jackson Konesia. He built schools and helping kids in the Panta district. When I've been in Liberia, I spent the night with him and I told him I was running as a representative candidate, as an independent candidate. And I explained why I was running. He looked me in the eye and said, "Young man, you're saying something really good, but I would describe your situation like a worm in the can of ants. They're going to tear you apart." For that reason, one of the trips when I was coming on the US to back to the US, I started to think about, ponder over that very highly. And I drafted a concept paper between Brussels and Chicago on the plane. Which this idea, one tree cannot make a forest, but if individual trees will combine to make a forest, let's try to create a forest for good change in the House of Representatives. So earlier we have funded the the grassroots alternative movement, a social pressure group here in the U.S., and I serve as chairman for Liberia. I took that idea to them. We all agreed to establish a project called the Chain Makers Network. What we did with that was we set up a secretariat, and the secretariat will look at, say, district number 1 in a particular area, the first top 3 candidates, and try to filter them. We're looking for somebody who has good basic behavior, good behavior by their past record. When the secretariat, when they identify one person, they will advance the person name to me, and then I will be able to speak to the person to say, we have started this movement. We want you to join us so that we can be able to combine forces when we are in a house so we can make a difference, because we know one person can't do anything there. In fact, that concept paper, it was being reviewed almost 2 or 3 different times, and then we're going to sign it. And in that, we put a certain thing. Different instance, we talk about auditing the House of Representatives. We're talking about declaring our assets, making it public, all kinds of good governance structure we put in there. And at the end, we say, any of us name on this document, if at all we don't do what we say we're going to do, the group are going to ostracize you as an individual. But also, we put something in there that we could share the document with our international partners, that when any of us fall short of the standards we're setting for ourselves, if it is possible, they should even deny us visa to travel into Europe or America or even the African Union and the rest of it. So very, very serious idea. And I couldn't be doing that at the same time I'm a member of a political party. It would have undermined the whole thing. So since I was an independent candidate, even though a lot of political parties were asking me to join, I decided to maintain my independent candidacy so I to drive the idea of the Chain Makers Network so that we don't put it into any political direction. So yes, I was doing that. I have never been part of any political party except my calling now. When I got a call also, I called a bunch of people within the Liberian People Party, especially the young people. What I could be Ibrahim Yang, what I could be Salas Siako. A lot of people, I called them. I say, this is reaching me, but I'm not part of the party. What you guys think about it? Because some of you are also very qualified to serve as vice president. And I got overwhelming endorsement from them. Say that, please accept it. We beg you, please accept it. Please accept it. So we build a lot of consensus within the Liberian People Party first as part of the decision-making process. So by virtue of the fact that I'm a vice tenant bearer, I am a member now of the Liberian People Party.
Thank you. Let me go get a quick Alphonso and bring this.
All right.
Hold on. Yes, sir.
So it has been official now. Dr. Emmanuel Yarkpawolo is officially the running mate to Tiawan Gongloe of the Liberian People Party ticket.
And I thought to play that because I just wanted it to be a little nostalgic for Dr. Yakpawolo. I know Alfonso will continue his lane of questioning, but I just wanted to ask you quickly how that day felt. What does it mean for you now?
The day was overwhelming. Very difficult to describe in words. I think part of that program, I share a little bit of tears, and I would normally do this in any major event in my life because I just thought how I wish my mother was alive to see what was going on, and that happened to me each time I graduated from school. In the graduation program, I think about my mother really hardly. And also in this case, I also thought about my father who passed away at the age of 104 in 2014. So I started just to think about them, and just unbelievable that you look at my life where I come from, that I will be elevated to this kind of national status, overwhelming, but also very humble, appreciative to God and to Councillor Gonglo and all my friends and everybody that I had stake in my life, my classmates from high school all the way to college, those I serve as student leader for, my friend, everybody, my wife, my kids, one of the boys here, Joseph, who is in college here, he said that day he called me later. He said today I cry. I watched you on stage. I cry. I said, why did you cry? He said, when Councillor Gonglo was talking about you, the way he praised you and me knowing you, what all you do for us, even in the house, what I could be washing dishes and all of that. He said, it just came upon me. It was so heavy that I sat down behind my computer and just started to shed a lot of tears. So that how overwhelming it was, not just for myself, but also for my children as well, who were, even if they were not in the crowd, they were watching it online. But that humility continued today. What is it mean for me today? It's a greater level of calling. This calling is not anything to take lightly. This is a heavy responsibility. But God has also prepared me to reach this point. So at this point, we quite prepare for the task at hand to be able to work with Councillor Gonglo to support his initiative. He's a good man. Over 35 years, he has laid down his life for poor people in Liberia, stood for justice. And at this point, he wants to get in the driver's seat. I'm going to be there, helping him along the way, every step of the way. As of today's date, he called me his deputy. He doesn't call me by name. And the other time I asked him, why are you calling me deputy? He said, because you are my deputy. Anything I tell you to do, I just have to say it, or sometimes I don't even tell you. You take the stuff and get wrong with it, and you are just so excellent in what you do. So I'm so happy to have you. So the name I have for you is deputy, and that's how he called me. He calls me. So I'm very humble, very happy, but also very prayerful that God will be done in my life amid all of these things that are happening, because God will is the best will.
Alfonso?
Yeah, Dr. Yakpawolo, you talk about when we're talking about dress code, you're talking about having Liberia hat. We've heard that many times before. Current president of Liberia had Liberia hat. That was the song in the streets. The man get Liberia hat. You talk about having Liberia hat. You also talk about coming to change Liberia to make Liberia better, etc. Councilor Gonglo talk about that in the selection program that we just listened to. Here's my question. Give us a synopsis of the challenges, the problems facing Liberia. What do you see as Liberia's problems? Because everybody talk about changing and addressing the problems of Liberia. What are the specific problems in Liberia?
The problems are contemporary, they are also historical. We can actually divide Liberian history into various clusters and discuss the issues the country faces in each of the clusters. We don't have time today to go through all of that, but we'll just talk about the contemporary, what is happening now, which is not taking place in the vacuum. They are also based on history. But I think Liberia problem, the major one, is corruption. and impunity. And the lack of enforcement of laws. In a nutshell, these are the problems that serve as cornerstone for our civil war. Corruption, people going with impunity, bring about injustice for a very long time. And when people undergo injustice for so long time, for a long time, at some point, they vent their anger, and normally it's bad. So, the broad problem is corruption. And the thing about it is, it has taken a form of a culture. And a culture is the dominant behavior of, of people in an institution. The one that they do all the time, it take on the form of culture. It's difficult to change that, but it's doable. As long as a president, a vice president, can tackle corruption by himself or herself, like Councillor Gongloe, who is not corrupt. Because if you are corrupt in the first place, you will not be able to fight it. You'll be defeated right from the beginning. It has to start with yourself. I am not corrupt, but I know what I'm doing. I'm going to take decisive steps to make sure to control corruption in Liberia. That's the only way the country resources will be free. Because in most instances, those who are corrupting, they are not even educated. So they don't even know what they're corrupting. Take, for instance, the way the mineral agreements and things are signed in Liberia. They are really bad. If those who are even wanting to corrupt, if they knew the value of the country worth they are giving up, they will be taking more corrupt money than the one they receive. Whether it takes small money from corruption or big money is bad. So we are against corruption 100%. But the point I'm trying to make is one, lack of knowledge plus corruption, right? Really big problem. So those, I mean, in nutshell, there are a lot we can talk about, but the ones that take the lion's share, somebody who doesn't have anything today, they become president, they become vice president or the senator. In the next day, they have either their private university. Nobody questions where they took the money from. The president has become a big business person, and everyone is depending on the person now. They make themselves into like father of the nation. Nobody ever questioned where they took the money from. People do those things and go with impunity. And as long as that situation is not under control, that control Liberia will never develop. And I think this is where our strength is. And we can unpack those as we go along with the conversation.
Thank you. Very quickly, can you just tell us some practical steps and Councillor Gongloe will take to address corruption? Because once again, almost all of the candidates in the race have identified corruption as one of the major problems. All of them have said they will fight corruption. In fact, I believe 90% of them has mentioned concession agreements. So I want you to go a step further. What practical steps will you taking to address corruption?
We have a plan that is written down and is doable to be able to control corruption in Liberia. One, we declare our asset before sworn into office and make our asset declaration public. Government know, the Liberian people know what we have before getting the government. We're very transparent about it. That one step, we want to hold ourselves accountable first. So we do that. The next thing, when we are in the government, the past government, we institute a committee to review the various audit reports and the various LACC reports and internal audit agency reports. The thing about corruption is that people are going with impunity so much, they're not afraid to do it. They really do it and put it in our faces. So it's not really hard to grab them. It's very easy. But that committee will come up with several names, those who are implicated. They will face the justice system in Liberia, which we will strengthen. They will be found guilty. They will go to jail. Their properties will be seized and turned over to the Liberian government. This is doable. This is to say that impunity is no more. Okay? If we set that stage, of course, the learned counselor would not be hiring people with tainted record. So, in the first place, you're not going to be appointing people who have bad behavior in the past based on their record. So, everybody coming to government, at least his appointment, will assume that they will be good and they will be good people with good behavior. So that itself will filter some of the corrupt practices. But notwithstanding, when you enter the bank, Alfonso, uh, banks don't hire people who steal. Before you work in the bank, they will conduct all kind of background information on you, and then you'll be qualified to work in the bank. But still, when you work in the bank, they still have cameras that are mounted in the bank to make sure that, because they want to be 100% sure that nobody is doing anything bad in the banking hall. Using that same scenario, so why is it that we'll hire people with good behavior, but we'll check their assets every 3 months? We're talking about, so every 3 months we check your bank account, we check if you're developing properties, where the money comes from. If you have some inheritance in terms of wealth, we don't have problem with it. We just want to make sure money that is spending and money you have, we can trace them. So that lifestyle audit we talk about every 3 months we institute that. Okay, so if we combine all of those things, and then part of the corruption is that when a police officer is trying to do his job, he arrests somebody who doesn't have a driver license. A minister in government call and say, leave that person. No, 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 no. We institute a whistleblower system in the way that police officers and those who are in government can report bad behavior in the way that information will not come back to haunt them. Will be carrying on investigation. And any minister, anybody in the government, you do that, you are guilty, is subject to firing right away. And where it's necessary, send you for investigation. Because we want the enforcement officers to do their job without fear or favor. We want them to enforce the law. So you can't be going behind them and trying to disarm them that way. So these are just some of the practical steps. There are many, because we talk about freeing the country money. We talk about increasing civil servant salary. We're talking about professional police force, professional drug enforcement forces, and which that's something we haven't even talked about in terms of the Zogos and the rest of it, and how we're going to make sure they apply the drug law. If they are not strong, we develop stronger ones so that we stop the importation of drugs in the country. Those who are trying to produce drugs in the country, it's easy to stop that one. We got to stop the source and the sources first. Then we can get on the rehabilitation for those who are already affected and making sure they have employment. So when you ask me, all the steps I described, we symbolize it with a broom. The broom, historically and everything, it has several other uses. It's used for cleaning, of course, but the broom, we have always said, is a symbol of unity. Because if you take a straw of the broom, it can break easily if you combine it, the straw. So that part of the way we wear this, the red, white, and blue, we want to unite the country. But in that unity, each straw of the broom is accountable to everyone else in the broom. So it's not like one straw getting the money, saying they are kissing the America, and the rest of the people are suffering. No. There's total accountability inside the broom. And then finally, we will publish government officials' salary. It will be in newspaper, it will be online. You'll be able to click and see how much they are earning. It's constitutional, so we're going to enforce that constitutional provision, and everybody's salary will be available. And so people can see how much their officials are making, and their benefits will be available online. It's called transparency. When we do that, we have swept corruption in the country, then the money is available for us to do and pursue our developmental agenda, our 10-point agenda, which I hope I can have some time tonight to
Oh,
talk about in this
absolutely,
interview.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, let me come in quick here. So you kind of laid out the steps here, but I want to go a few steps back. Are you coming with a blank slate, or are you going to go audit from Charles Stiller? Because people like Edwin Snowden had nothing until they came in the Charles Stiller era. Now the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Then you're talking Ellen Johnson Sirleaf herself, her cronies, and now you have George Weah. We got to get all that money back. We got to get all that wealth back. Or you starting from day one when you start in your presidency, or you got to go clean house. I think it's important.
Back in terms of, and that's why we support the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court, because exactly that's the one you're talking about, Volcano, in terms of where do we start. So and Councilor visited 1 minute, go 1 minute, gentlemen. You sorry, I'm having the interview in the house, so there's a little bit of distraction here.
It's okay.
So I'm very, 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 very sorry. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, I think you put me in a bad stage. Just one second, then I come back.
Okay. So yeah, Alfonso, like I was saying, I mean, we got a lot of wealth out there that need to be retrieved. To be frank, I see. I thought I unmuted you. Go ahead.
No, I just turned I muted myself. Yeah, no, you're right. That is a significant. I think that's where we should begin to make it really meaningful. You can't just start within your own administration. You got to start from back there, because there's a lot of money. I know I've been part of programs and organizations and movements that dedicate to the cause. But what gave Dr. Yakpawolo the opportunity.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, and all of our viewers. When you do it
No,
from home,
nothing.
sometimes
Sorry for any distraction. So
Go
you're
ahead.
good.
exactly.
You're good.
So,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So as I was saying, we are supporting the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court. And Council Gonglo, Troy Nima, and part of places like state like Prince Johnson home, right? He went to Mr. Johnson's home and he asked the people there, this war we're talking about, when a soldier is on the battlefield and killed 1,000 people or so, 10,000, one on the battlefield is not a crime. But when an army officer leaves and starts to rape women, kill innocent children, do other things, and you think those who committed those crimes in Liberia should go free? Everybody in the town said no, they should be punished. And every place we go, we ask the people the question. They said those who went out of the way from the battlefield and start to commit heinous crime should not go free. So there's overwhelming support for the establishment of war crime court. And quite recently, a front page Africa report indicated that one institution conducted a kind of survey to first-time voters, and the question to them was, what, what is more important to them? What do they want candidate to say in terms of that will influence their voting pattern? 93% of the young people said the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Code is important to them. So you can see the overwhelming support even from the younger generation, some of them who were born during the war or even after the war. So you see that there's overwhelming support. So with the establishment of those institutions, then of course you can say that whatever from Charles Taylor era or the rest of it, and people there will go free because clearly they'll be brought to book and they'll be questioned about their actions.
So
What
let's start with this. Okay.
earlier is some immediate action right away so that so some people are held accountable right away in the government to make sure that even those who have been appointed to say that we have a new course of action now and not the old cultural way, and that we're not going to be waiting to say let's establish when punishment must start 1989, I mean 1979, 1980. No, we're just going really quickly and make sure that some people their corruption is very vivid. Let's just make sure that we get some action here going very quickly while we pursue the longer ones.
So let's come back to the issue of the 10-point agenda. Now, can you lay it out in snippets and what it tackles?
Exactly. So we start with say food production as one of those to say that we want Liberia to be able to feed itself, and that is possible. That money is available. The money that government is always using to subsidize the importation of rice, we turn that money inward so that we get machines to support farmers, revamp the agricultural bank so farmers are able to take soft loan from there. Make sure we strengthen the agriculture department of the military to be able to produce food and provide extension services. Strengthen carry in the Ministry of Agriculture. So we say that we want to make sure that Liberia is self-sufficient in food production, especially the major staple we consume, which is the rice. That's one. Then we want to make sure in the education sector, we want to make sure for ABC all the way to 12th grade education is free, it's nice, teachers are well paid, classes are well furnished, and everything you think about a good school, a picture of a good school in Ghana, a public good school in Ghana, will be in Liberia. Think about it that way as a case in point. And it will be free. That include YFE and all of that, government responsibility. But then we make sure that we say we have, especially the vulnerable group, the Zogos, as we call them, they are too much in the country now. So we have to do something about it. So that means we have vocational programs in every county, specialized vocational programs, so that if they get training,
Please do us the favor. Please do us the favor and tell us this. This is one. This is two. This is three. We want the audience to be able to
talk about food self-sufficiency in Liberia, right?
Yeah. So
Self-sufficiency
is
is one. Two, education, right? So education is another one. And I will describe education to include primary to 12th grade education, quality education free of charge. Part of the education pillar, I also talk about establishment of vocational programs in every county, specialized vocational programs where students graduate from there, they get a job. Still on education, we want to make sure we eliminate illiteracy rate in Liberia in 2 years. Tell me how we do that. Our formula is very simple. Smart students from 10 to 12th grade and in colleges, take 10% in your community each. The curriculum will be developed. People who can read and write, 10, and then you teach them with a curriculum. After school, an hour or two over the weekend when the women come from the market, teach them. Follow the curriculum. Periodically, maybe after 3 months or so, external evaluators will come to evaluate your students based on the curriculum, how they're doing. That will be job. That will be part-time job for high school students and college students. We do that across the country. In 2 years, we eliminate illiteracy rate in Liberia. Our universities will be supported. Labs will be there. The universities, the cost will be affordable. Number 3, we talk about provision of healthcare services. It means that we have set an example on ourselves to say that we are not crying, we're not praying to get sick. However, during our presidency, if we are sick, we and our immediate families will not be treated outside of Liberia. Be treated in Liberia, but in a government hospital, government clinic. It means that we are not important than any other Liberians. We are given the power to influence the kind of change the country needs. So it means that our lives and the life of our immediate family depend on the healthcare system in Liberia. It means that it has to be improved. So clinics, qualified doctors and nurses, they are well paid. Additional professionals are trained. We talk about pregnant women, children under 5 years, free medical care in government clinic and hospitals. We also talk about people, the elders, 65 years and older, free medical care, a national insurance company for everybody in between, so that everyone is insured in the country. So that's for healthcare. In another one, number 3, our infrastructure development. We have a lot to do in that area. Electricity, using solar energy, and different one. But I think one of the one that immediate one we're focusing on is the road connectivity in the country. It's very challenging to say that you cannot even move during the rainy season. Like part of the country is cut off right now because of the muddy situation. Under the Toba administration, they had these they had the public work stations. We're going to make sure that public work stations are in every county. responsible for the maintenance of the county roads throughout the year. Okay, so that means even the road is not paved, it's still going to be pliable throughout the year. You don't get muddy situation. I think that's still number 3 or 4, and we can talk about job creation as item number 5.
Yeah,
And
fine.
yes, job creation. To say that we enforce the Liberianization policy, certain jobs only Liberians supposed to do it. That's the essence of independence. If you are an independent country, you are a servant country, it means that you protect your people. So under the labor laws of Liberia, which Councillor Gongloe developed as a labor minister, there are clear provision certain jobs only supposed to be for Liberia. We make sure that those sections in the law are enforced. That will build the capacity of Liberia and provide more jobs. Then we say companies that will come to Liberia and create jobs outside of Monrovia, 50 miles and beyond, you're giving tax incentives. All right, you're giving tax incentives because we want to decongest the city. Okay, so those are all geared towards job creation. We say that even in the timber industry, there's no need for us to be exporting our law. If we're all finishing law in Liberia, it used to be before the war, and those industries have not come back yet. We open the private sector so people get in there. Government provides some subsidies for them, if possible, some soft loan, so that we manufacture things like plywood, molding furnitures, and the rest of it, we manufacture them in Liberia for Liberia consumption and possible export. There are a lot of, I think Liberia should be the second country in the world with the highest marine fleet, over 4,000 ships, but Liberians are not employed on those ships. Well, under the maritime law, we're supposed to ensure that we train Liberians so they are all employed on those ships as well. That's job creation. So we want to make sure that people are employed, especially the young people. We want to make sure they are employed. So I think that's the agriculture, right? That's another point. The agriculture that develop the young people, that we have that as a pillar in the way that we're going to develop sports, in the way that those who are in the entertainment industry, they're not only going to do it as entertaining and being poor. We add value to what they do, and we develop sports in Liberia. And get some additional one we can go along as we discuss them one by one. But I have not talked about the corruption, but I have already talked about the corruption. The corruption is actually number 1, but because I described it very early on, that's why I leave in it. Because everything I'm talking about, you need money to do it, and part of it is that to make sure to get hold of the corruption so the money is free.
That's where I was coming. That's why I was coming to ask you, Mr. Gongloe, having no stain of corruption, it means that he doesn't have money. Dr. Yarkpawolo, who is also, have no stain of corruption, means you don't have money. Where's the money coming from to win the hearts of the Liberian people? You know campaign, you know what it is, you know Liberian culture, you know how people say, oh, well, the two men they're wearing country gown whole day, where they coming to be telling us they come with an empty hand. I just say no. Don't quote me. You there on the ground, you know the. Where's the money coming from the campaign?
So I think it's not like we don't have money at all. The little one we have, we got it fairly. So it's not like the way other people up to today's date, they are actually just taking government money and using it, or people who were in government before took a lot of money and they still have some contact in government. They're still getting a lot of money.
And let me pause you. The reason I ask you this question is it's been widely declared that the current government is using 50 million, if not 50 million, but close to it, to campaign. Isn't that a disadvantage to you guys who coming from the heart and trying to win the Liberian people? They're taking the country money and campaigning. Because when George Weah came in 2003, was it 2005? 2005 rather, he didn't come with $50 million to campaign. When it went back 2017 or 2011, they can come with $50 million. Now, 2017, they didn't come with $50 million. Here we are, 2023, all this money. Isn't that a disadvantage? Don't have money?
No, it's not. I think the problem is that it's desperation. I think the gentleman is very desperate to be able to retain the power, and so he's going the extra mile. But as the information come out to the Liberian people, they are becoming to understand that this is not the way to go. If 2017 you won the election, not even running any kind of serious campaign, and simply because you have played some soccer, you seem to be a likable person for the country, and then you got all the votes. 6 years later, why are you taking 50 million of Liberian people money to try to buy them over to vote for you? It's a desperation. And as Liberians understand it, and it's been discovered, they are getting discouraged, especially the kind of way they are impoverished, the kind of suffering they're doing. So they're not buying. And when I describe the situation, even in that same video you were showing earlier, part of my speech, I described the two different color, which I take one color and describe as the country natural resources. The responsibility of government is to distribute the country resources so everyone benefits. But I take a big bag and say this is what the president eat and vice president, the senators and the representative, and those are the head of government. When I finish biting that cola, the little one in my hand, I ask the audience, can this one develop? They clearly say no. They agree with me that it can build roads, it can bring electricity, it can bring good healthcare system, it can create jobs. But I said, but that little one, they're not finished yet. At the end of doing at election time, the little one that's left, then they bring it back because they're smart. They think you're not smart. They bring it back. There's the one now they bring with the lappers. Our women, we buying you people lappers, very cheap lappers. There's the one to bring in old Becker rice or the quarter group, get 10, 20, 100,000 fictitious loan programs to business women that are very unsustainable. I said, there's the one. They bring it and then they fool you people and then you vote them, then the cycle start again. And the people don't understand that. They understand very, very clearly. Then I bring another cola and demonstrate the opposite as to how, when we buy it going into education, healthcare system, job creation, and everything we talk about. And only a small one is there now for the president and the vice president and the rest of people to eat. The people, they buy into that idea to know that people are bringing rest now, they're bringing money, everything they're doing right now is just to fool us so they can continue stealing from us. So it is not a disadvantage to us. It is a disadvantage to the administration because as they steal the money, it's leaked into the public, and people are getting very angry. So the losing vote, shooting themselves in the leg.
Come here,
Come here,
Alphonso.
phone.
All right, yeah. So, few questions here that I left. Little bit of things to unpack. I want to thank you. I think you're providing us and our listeners a lot of information here. But as you were answering the questions, I just wanted a few things clarified. You talk about war crimes code. I mean, Councillor Gongloe is on record going all the way back, talking about the need for war and economic crimes code and implementation of the TRC recommendations. Um, I've worked on that as well with him, but also in other capacities. And I do know, for example, that in Sierra Leone, one of the ways they were able to get their war crimes code was that the president of Sierra Leone at the time simply wrote to the international community, the United Nations, and say, we need help setting up a war crimes code. What will you do? What would your administration, meaning the Gonglo Yuri Yakbawolo administration, do in practical terms to get a war crimes code established in Liberia? Because there's that recommendation. What previous presidents, well, what President Sirleaf and then the current president has done is simply to punt to the national legislature to say, "Hey, legislature decide, let them vote," and as a consequence, nothing has happened. What will you do different?
I think the TRC was was a law. Okay, it was a law that was passed. Their function established by law. Taking their recommendation again, carrying it to lawmakers again to make another decision, I think a little bit trivial that way, and probably is a point to undermine it, the implementation. That law was passed, that law was done. When there are issues that need clarification, those can be clarified. I think the recommendation need to be implemented. So part of it is for us to get it implemented on our administration. It can take several forms. It could be, as what you're talking about, in terms of asking the international community to help, in terms of the implementation, and of course, there quite a kind of support internationally for people who committed heinous crimes in Liberia to face justice. That's the reason why some of them have been apprehended abroad. So I don't think it's too difficult to do that. But what we have said is that the recommendations, they are rational, they need to be implemented. And there's a law that was passed, and that law need to be enforced. And you enforce it by making sure the recommendations are implemented. Um, Part of it, I mean, people sometimes over there just look at the establishment of the war crime code. That's a major part of it. But there are other things, as you're talking about, Alfonso, inside that recommendation that we just ignoring everything. The reconciliation, the form of retribution, the kind of money that's will be established to help certain individuals. How can a country go through this war like this? You don't even have a war museum. How can we remember our history? Who are we? A country will go through what Liberia went through and the memory is erased completely. Nobody cares as to how to get a memory going. Areas that massacres took place, we're supposed to conduct research on those people that were killed. We build monument, milestone, carve their name in it. Those are their grave. On Decoration Day, where their children go to cry. How the healing is taking place in Liberia. I have tried this here in the diaspora in Liberia as a researcher, just by getting to a Liberian and asking them questions who and what they are experiencing about the war. You will not go into 10 minutes, you see the tears coming down. The country is not healed at all because the whole TRC report, everything is looked at as war crime code, the rest of the recommendation all overshadow. We want to heal the country, and the country need to be healed from the war, which has not taken place. And without that healing, you can't even get true reconciliation.
All right,
All
I'll
right,
move
I'll
on
move on
from
from
what issue. And I want to talk a little bit of economy, the economy of the country. So you talk about fighting corruption and clawing back money. You know, stopping first of all, stopping the leakage that is created by corruption, but also going backwards and clawing back money and resources from people who have stolen money. And that's how, but you also talk about a lot of programs that you will put into place. I mean, free school from kindergarten to high school. You talk about affordable universities, which is another question I think we should talk about because universities, public universities, in my view, are currently free. You want to make them affordable, but and we'll go back to that later. So you talk about building roads, you talk about healthcare system, etc. So all of that costs money. But the only thing I've heard you, maybe I missed it, that you talk about in terms of how to generate resources to support all of these programs is by fighting corruption. Do you believe that fighting corruption alone is sufficient to raise all of the resources that you need to do all of the things that you talk about? Or do you have economic programs to grow the economic pie in such beyond corruption in such a way that you have to with needed resources?
Thank you. We do have a lot of programs, economic development programs. Most of the time on these shows, we don't have long time to get into this issue, and we get hit the main one because that main one has been a stomach block. Corruption is a stomach block for economic activities in Liberia, even in the private sector. The way our laws are structured, Liberia is supposed to be business friendly country. But through corruption, Liberia is not business friendly anymore. Because before you do anything, the money you're spending over every paper is too much. It makes doing business in Liberia very expensive. That's why you see that when we have a little bit of time, we emphasize that one because it really crushed to the issue. But in addition to that, different instance, renegotiating concessions agreements. We'll be strong in that because that's part of our expertise. Every 5 years, the concession agreement is supposed to be reviewed so that we find out what has been happening and going forward based upon current information, what can we do? We negotiate from a stronger point of view of Liberia so that Liberia has a greater benefit in the concession agreement. We push more towards finishing products in Liberia, manufacturing in Liberia. I just talked about one simple one, which is the wool industries, but other areas as well that we can be able to build capacity and actually produce in Liberia. Because that's the only way our economy will be strong. Even the rice production in the agriculture sector I talk about, that's a lot of job creation. Or when I talk about giving incentive to companies to establish outside of Monrovia, that is job creation. Or I talk about the maritime system and the kind of job that can be created in the area. That is job creation. Or I talk about vocational program where students come from there with specialized training in terms of the economy will grow. Liberia will be hiring skyscrapers and the rest of it. So we need people to build those buildings. We need those who are in the profession to think about it with an entrepreneurial sense. So most of the profession we see in Liberia, they do it over and over and over. They don't grow because they don't have business idea. So the specialized vocational program, it will not only teach them their profession, but how to do their profession as a form of business. Then data said they will be able to employ themselves and potentially employ other people. So we have a whole set of activities to do. When it comes to a point where we need to borrow, we will borrow. But again, we are very careful. Until you get hold of the corruption, don't borrow. Because the mistake you want to make is to borrow and indebt the country, the future generations that are yet to be born. You put debt on their head, they don't have any benefit if that borrowing end up in private pockets. So it means that if we're borrowing, either the borrowed money should be able to pay for itself. That means we put it in an infrastructure that is long lasting and potentially income generating infrastructure. Or if it is not even income generating, is infrastructure that has a lifespan of 25 years, 50 years or so. So that those that will be born tomorrow, if we are not alive, if they stay paying the debt, they stay enjoying what the money was done when it was being borrowed. So everything we think about sustainability, we think about the future of the country. So we have a whole set of economic plan. I talk about the Liberianization policy and setting job only for Liberians, or making sure that you improve civil servant salary, making sure that people are insured in Liberia. All those things will raise the standard of living of the average Liberians, and that's our focus. But most of the time, we are quick to talk about corruption because corruption has the potential to undermine all of those things, as we are seeing it happen over and over again.
Let me come in with a question
Question
from one of our folks in the audience. Mr. Sid Wilson says here there could be several reasons why there may not be a significant international connection to bring companies to Liberia, or why the government may require certain conditions to be met before allowing entry. Here are a few possible explanations. One, economic factors. Liberia, like any other country, may face economic challenges that make it less attractive to international businesses. Issues such as inadequate infrastructure, limited market size, or political instability can discourage foreign investment. What do you say to that?
The right analysis are quite correct. So, take for instance, if you have instability, perhaps not war as we see it, but if you have the issue of drug affected youth going up high, and U.S. embassy, the American government, and the travel list pulling Liberia at this category, don't go in the night, don't go certain place outside the city. Those will because international investors.
The big one is lack of rule of law.
See that?
The big one is lack of rule of law.
Oh yes, yes. The lack of the enforcement of laws, but what the writer said is correct. This kind of behavior will scare away investors. Population and market size. Well, Liberia population is not a bad population as it census right now, a little over 5 million people. That's a good market size, but Liberia location is very strategic. Before then, in fact, where the airline Delta used to fly straight to Monrovia from Atlanta. I took that flight several times, about 9 hours, 30 minutes. So when you look at Liberia's position globally, Liberia is very strategic as a business country. It could be for tourism. It could also be for transit point for business. I'm not talking about the drugs, as Liberia is considered to be a transit point for drugs right now. That is bad. We're not talking about that kind of business. All right. We're talking about genuine business. And most of the time, why is it that maybe American, Israelis, or German companies will not want to invest in Liberia that much? Because again, if the corruption is too high in the country, before a company operate, you have to corrupt. Some of the companies don't do that. Because if they venture into corrupting Liberia, they will be prosecuted back in their home countries, right? So all those things will scare away. So that's what we talk about, creating an enabling environment, peace and security, you know, laws are enforced, the taxes that companies supposed to pay, the registration fee when it's supposed to be done online, make sure it's done. Nobody is holding fast to your paper and expecting bribery before they can go through, all those things. So I think I agree with the caller, but that's what we are coming in to create the enabling environment so that the economy of Liberia can thrive.
If you're just joining us, welcome to the Issues Room. We're here on our 182nd edition. Here tonight we have Dr. Emmanuel Yarkpawolo. He is the running mate to Councillor Tiawan Saye Gongloe of the Liberian People's Party. Election is on October 10th, and the campaign is on. So we encourage you, our viewers, to share the word, encourage others to join us here. Like us, love us, follow us. We're here Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. across the country, Liberia, and those countries within the sub-region, or rather not sub-region, but Greenwich time zone. And so we say thank you for sharing the word. Mohammed Kurman, thank you for joining us. Thomas Awaji, Manan Sumo, Emmanuel Jackson, Florence, rather Flomo Livingstone, uh, Maria Gardell, thank you. Shaggy McAfee, James Kuman, who is watching from Denver, Colorado. Amma Fremont from Texas, who said thank you. Raymond Clark, Fergie Monu, and all you guys. Noble Foley from Pennsylvania, thank you for joining us. Continue to invite others. Uh, Doc, we're in the campaign season. What is that burning message now you guys are presenting? You don't have enough time. And really, the Liberian voters, you can see, so now you start talking, the next thing is Zegwe. And at the end of the day, they don't even get the message, who will say that all you can hear. But what's that burning message right now that will put you at the top of the race?
So the land councillor is moving from street to street. He over a vehicle. He's shaking people's hand all across Monrovia. And he talking to them. And then sometimes, yes, Zokwe, but sometimes he tell them, please, just, slow down the Zokwe, so the message goes to the people. So he's doing that. I was doing it before coming, and I'm next week I'm hitting back. We're going to continue. Our messages at this point, they're very short and get to the point. So we tell the people, vote number 6. Vote number 6. Number 6, the same hat, the same clothes on the ballot with the broom. The only people you see, they are wearing the same clothes with the broom. So vote number 6. Vote number 6 for a better Liberia. Vote number 6 so your children can have access to education. Vote number 6 so that women and people who can read and write would know how to read and write in Liberia. Vote number 6 for the future of this country. So we just very, very short to the point, and then taking questions and listening is important. So when you talk to a group of people, ask them to give a question, and sometimes they do give questions, and then you provide clarity. But some of them, the question they're asking, they also have answers, so they can be able to help you with additional information. And we're seeing a group of volunteers. People are volunteers all across the country, civil society. Here in the U.S., supporters are calling their family members, telling them that this is the ticket we are supporting, so help them. They are connecting up with institutions. So we're talking to the institution. So why is it that We may not be paying for crowd and be putting all the crowd out that you see, and some of the crowd, quite fake crowd, that they're putting out. We have a lot of voters, and our voters, they are silent, and their vote is in their hand because our messages are resonating with them. That's why we are very, very confident that we'll end up in the second round. And I just want to take time to also emphasize that to the diaspora Liberian also to say that if you give $1 to us, or you call a family member or somebody that you connected with a friend and tell them, you are actually doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it beyond yourself. Why? Because the suffering rate in Liberia is so much, people don't rest in the diaspora. Whether it could be school fee, somebody passes away, somebody going to visit family members, food finished. And this country and all countries around the world, life is getting harder all the time. So if all our economy is improving, your family members and friends are working in Liberia, they can go to school, they're having electricity, they're having a good life, the pressure will drop on you here in the US and other places around the world. That's why you have a stake in Liberia, because you send remittances to Liberia. And so that is very helpful. But if the economy is strong, you'll say you become stronger in the process. In the process, that's why we're asking any help you can. Please go ahead and do it, so that we win this election and change Liberia's story.
What are voters asking you? I mean, or telling you rather? What are they telling you guys when you go to them?
Voters, this is what voters say sometimes. They say to you, some of them say to you, we're tired hearing this because people have told us over and over, and we don't see our conditions changing. So this is why sometimes we say, if you do this for us, then we'll vote for you. Because they come, we vote for them, our lives, the goal, we don't see them anymore. Our rules are still the same. Our communities are still the same year in, year out. We don't have job. Yesterday, we don't have job today. It's the same thing. So voters are frustrated. And someone will say, for me, I'm not voting. Or if I vote, give me money or give me rice. Because that's my benefit now. When I vote, you are not seeing you anymore. Some voters will say that, not all of them though. Some will say that. But then we explain to them the reason why it's important not to think that way. Because by thinking that way, they are carrying on a vicious cycle. That one who steals the money and can't give you the rest today, you it like the person you is selling the vote and then you're selling your vote, they buy it. And then they get into government, they steal more money, they're not coming to you anymore because they bought your vote. Don't do that. They bought your vote with your own money. It was not like their own money. They stole the money from you, bought your vote, then you voted them, then they're stealing more. And then I think the message is resonating because a lot of them would then come back and address it. A lot of people personally will say, after hearing this, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to my people. So I think our messages, as I said, they are resonating, and we have to continue doing what we're doing so that October 10, we can get the results.
Yes. So, I mean, we're going along. I think we're just getting to the point here that I wanted us to move to. I want to talk about your prospects of winning. So it's one thing to go and sell your message, give your message to the people. It's another thing to believe that they're actually buying into the message and that you have a chance of winning. Um, so two questions here. One, the first question will be: you want to replace the current government. What are some of the things that they are doing wrong that you would do better for which you want to replace them? That's question number one. And then question number two, of course, is what are your prospects of winning? Um, yeah, that a lot of things we're hearing in the media and even on these little videos by citizen journalists is that your team is now one of the top three or one of the top two contenders. So let us know what your prospects of winning. But before that, what are the things that the current administration is doing? Maybe two, three things that they're doing wrongly that you would do better.
Well, as a researcher, I myself, I don't speak without fight. So we see a pattern of behavior and we ask why as researchers, and we seek answers through a scientific approach. So I have visited several clinics and get asking to OICs and nurses, how is the clinic? How the condition here? They take me the tour of the clinic and sometimes show me one empty malaria basket and say, this box, they brought it here. They say we should use it for three months. It can't even treat up to 20% if finished. Here is empty box sitting here. We are just sitting here, nothing. We're sitting here, you see somebody will come with a condition. You are trained to treat the person, but you don't have the instrument, you don't have the medication. You know they're going by whom to die. If you ask me what is wrong, these are the evidences from the people who are facing the problems. Or a student that will write me asking for school fee. All right, and I speak to a group of students. What the problem you're facing now? Even the high school system, they can't afford the tuition, they can't afford graduation fees. All right, earlier you were talking about public universities are free. They are not free. Because if you want to make it free, put money in it and get quality. You don't make public universities free and all the time the instructors are on strike because they can't get paid. You don't do it free in a way that you don't have money to run it. It's premature and it's not smart. All right, he asked me what is wrong. Those are the problems, but why these things are happening? You know, lack of electricity. In vast majority of the country, people don't have electricity. Even clean water, people don't have it, right? They ask me what is wrong. I tell you, go and see university graduates, some of whom they don't have any place to go but sit in a hatai shop and argue the whole day. They got no job. And they are frustrated. At the end, some of them end up getting on drugs, especially if you are a university graduate, you can't get a job, you spend a lot of time to hatai shop, no way, and your girlfriend is actually leaving you because you can't support her. What will you do? Somebody getting on drugs. We call them Zogos. If you ask me what is happening, what this government is not doing right, those are my answers. These are evidence-based. I'm not just saying it. And why is it happening under this administration? You know, do you want continuity? If this administration was seeking re-election to say that after 6 years, we want to go back again for another 6 years, this is their best they have to offer. Which is their worst? Do you want to give it another 6 years? That is why I agree with Councillor Gongloe when he says that Liberia is in the ICU, intensive care unit, and nurses and doctors don't know the meaning of that phrase, and people who have been there and God has helped them to come back to life, they know the meaning of it. That the country is in ICU. We have to pull the country out of that. Do we want to keep it in there? Get few people in government, flamboyant all over the place, serene all over the place. They drive on the opposite lane. You know, they are the big, everybody should respect them. You know, houses, United Nations trip, what are 60% or more, all government officials come to New York, who paying that money? If you ask me what is with this administration that we want to replace? A suffering. The administration has failed the Liberian people, has failed the vast majority, over 90% of Liberians are not enjoying their country. So they cannot continue with this power that is given them. Our winnability. Can we win this election? Yes. We can win the election. Because Gongloe started almost 2-3 years ago as a loan officer, a loan poor man lawyer. He's the only candidate to have traveled more than 325 towns outside of Maserado. He traveled across Liberia, studying the people, getting their endorsement, sleeping in villages. Councillor Gongloe slept in 2 zones, those whom. To tell the people of Grand Juda, this Nima versus Grand Juda thing is not me. I'm coming to unify this country. I want to symbolize that by me coming to sleep in those whom, give me water, everything, give me place to sleep, give me food, I will eat it. He did that. That's a high level of thinking. Somebody who is serious in their mind can do that. And for that reason, that coupled with he serving as a lawyer for almost 20 of their young men that were jailed during Ellen time, freeing those people as a pro bono lawyer without asking them for a dime, we already get grand jury for that matter. Of course, we get Nima because for them, I think sessionally they were really looking at producing a president, and their past voting pattern demonstrate that whenever they produce a president, the world will openly vote for that person. That's why Councillor Gongloe had traveled all day, including Prince Johnson home. We get a lot of vote in Bon County as well. My selection and everything I went into selecting me were not done secret. It was built with the consensus of people from Bon County. And my people are with me in Bon County. So we get a lot of vote in Bon, as well as my Gibi. And the rest of the country. And in Monrovia, we get a lot of support. Civil servants, police officers, they are standing to vote for us because our plan for them is clear. Not only is clear, they can actually check our track record and say what we're saying is true. It's true to them. So, don't mind the crowd because perhaps you see that these crowds are coming up. Some of the story coming with some of the crowd is that when, say, the cities are having the program, all civil servants, you got to go there. Because you have to go there and take a selfie and send a picture to your immediate boss to say, in the crowd wearing my CDC shirt. If you put that kind of crowd out, you think it's a crowd, it's a fictitious crowd because you don't know what in their mind. You don't take over a government, you slash the people's salary, you say harmonization, you slash it so much without any benefit. All that money that you cut, everything flow towards the top. Only few people enjoying it, and the people can't get any benefit. Poor civil servant, they can't resign because if they resign, what the alternative job they have? No way. They stuck to it. Then you're having your program, you say you have to go there and take picture and send it to me. You think that vote you're gathering? So don't mind all that crowd. So some of them are completely fictitious. Or some of the noise that coming even at the end of it. Somebody saying, "Oh, okay, your vote for this person because he'll be the president, he'll be the de facto president." That means too, he will not go anywhere. That's how you can talk. Is that the reason why you want the vice presidency? Because you feel that the president is old and you will be a de facto president? You see the division, even they have not won the presidency, but you see the division right there, right? It's a race. Do you want to give country like that to somebody like that who talking like this? Especially when the president already have a bad track record, not to be trustworthy? The answer is very clearly no. And Liberians are smart. They are gravitating towards the broom because they know the broom is the way forward for Liberia. So October 10th, there will be surprises.
Let me just give watching quick for you question. What would you say to us in the private sector here in America or in the diaspora to convince us to go back home as part of your campaign message? Because a lot of Liberians are out here, same thing, playing the wait and see game, just like international investors are doing. What plan you have to attract, this population?
I think the good news is that to begin with is that now in the diaspora, I think you are now claiming your Liberian citizenship. Before then, you say, because you took American citizenship, but I think there was a Supreme Court order. Besides that, I think the lawmakers did something about it. So you actually have citizenship. So you claim your citizenship to Liberia. I think that is very gratifying. And that's very important because you cannot lose a citizenship. I think that is disgraceful. So you have that now. And under our administration, you are a top priority. So take, for instance, if there are two businesses coming to Liberia, all right, one is coming from, say, the UAE, and one is coming from the US. And the one that comes from the US is owned or predominantly controlled by Liberians based in the US. You're given the first preference in our government because you are a Liberian and that's your land. And money you make in Liberia, you're more likely to invest it back in Liberia. You cannot shoot yourself in the foot. You cannot do bad to your people. Okay? Versus somebody who coming from far off, who doesn't have a relative in Liberia, they only coming to make money and take the money away. You have a stake in Liberia, and I encourage you, be getting prepared. Work for us. Let's win the presidency. You have a stake in Liberia. In fact, part of it we'll do is ready to have a diaspora, some of the initial steps to have a diaspora dialogue, a forum here in the US and potentially in Liberia. So all of you people are invited. So we seek ideas from you as to how to move the country forward. How are you planning to help? What you can bring? Some of you here, you got a lot of profession. I was just speaking with a friend of mine who is a bone doctor. He said, I want to come to Liberia, but where? How can I do it? Oh, we'll get place for you to Redemption, to GFK, wherein your equipment are there, housing facility. You come. We don't have to pay you like they will pay you in America, but you're not also looking for that pay because you know your country is struggling and you want to contribute. You need a facility for you to work. You need a good living condition. You need electricity and light and some sort of living allowance. We have all the program in store for you. You are a Liberian. We value your capacity. In fact, the professionalism you have obtained in the developed world, they will set the stage for the development of Liberia. So we need you. That's why we're asking you to stand with us so we can win the presidency and work together to move our country forward.
Go ahead, Moses. Your mic is open. I don't know what you did on your end. We can't hear you. No. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sarah Moses. I guess we'll come back to you. So once again, Doc, thank you. I think you lay out a number of reasons why you think you will win this election. But I have a question for you. Let's say somehow something happens and we have to go to a second round, which is the runoff that our constitution provides for. And your party does not manage to go to the second round. Do you have a policy within your party as to whether or not you will support the opposition party that goes to the second round, assuming there's one opposition party and the incumbent that goes to the second round? That's the first part of the question regarding the second round. Two, let's say you went to a second round, and let's say one of the parties, let's say the CDC, doesn't go to the second round but comes to you and wants to support you in the second round in exchange for collaboration. Will you stand on your principles and reject them? So it's two-part question.
I think what we have started doing is to work with the opposition. So when it comes to Gongloe, in the name of peace, we haven't talked about pre-electoral violence and that whole territory of peaceful election. I hope we have a little bit of time to cover that. But if you follow us when we have the meetings in the hall where they have president and vice presidential candidates, we build a lot of consensus. People gravitate towards us. So quite recently, we were able to gather the opposition, at least majority of them, where we were able to sign a communique that allow us to jointly pool watch. So it's like us versus the incumbent. So we are already putting the opposition on our side, and we end up in the second round. Clearly, we have their backing. Many of them, even the LMD organized four different vice presidential debate. I attended three. The last one I could not attend, and the internet was bad. They said I couldn't join from the US. But those who watched the debate, opinion poll, I won all the three vice presidential debate. But the people are getting prepared for did not show up. Kuhn did not show up. Joel Howard Taylor did not show up. Charlene Bronskin did not show up in the debate, which was very sad. Very very sad for them not doing that. It means that they want the Liberian people to buy pig in bear. I told the audience, you cannot. The people got to come and articulate, and you question them. But it was in our favor, right? Because then we dominated the debate and we were able to sell our ideas across community radio stations across the country. So right now, in terms of, I mean, really, we're not really looking at that scenario. Who we're gonna, if we don't deal, who we're gonna vote for? I think really that's, we are in it to go for second round against anybody, and potentially win the person. So we have already started the collaboration that will enable or do that, and I think that's really what the focus is now.
Was this?
Was this?
Try again.
Try again.
I mean, you
I
having
mean, you
problem.
having problem.
I
That,
mean,
I mean,
are you?
are you?
All right. So
All right,
I'll
so
talk
talk
about
about
things here
things
tonight.
here.
Let's go back to the land rights law you said you were participating in, because it is another war that we see on the horizon. And I use the word war not in the context of war, but just the fact that people are taking people property because they left the country as a result of the war and they've sold those properties. Or those of us who go back to Liberia and buy all the place, if you don't put foundation down, somebody just come and start building. They just start doing stuff. Then they say the first man who built that he land, even though your deed may be uh earlier in terms of when that purchase was made. Then you go, you can't get redress. The lawyer themselves, they eating you, the court eating you, everywhere eating you. Then you just give up because then they say, oh, you keep pushing the thing, you'll die from Goa. So many things happening, and it's unfortunate. Tell us the story when you how you got involved in this and what was the crust of what you wanted to do so that everyone could probably get a positive redress. And if there was any kind of situation where there was you know war among, and I use the word war not in a grand context, but there were situations where people couldn't see eye to eye, how was it resolved, and that spade was called a spade, who gets the land, and so forth.
So you are right when you use the word war, actually, because over 80% of Liberians use that word for land conflict in describing land conflict between 2007 and 8. And one of the things Emma Sawyer did was to ask Liberians about what could be a cause for another war if there were any war. What 80% of Liberians said, if government doesn't do anything about this land business in court, there will be another war. So you're not wrong, Volcano, when you use the word war, because it's been said by many Liberians. So in response to that, the governance commission then established the land commission to focus strictly on land policy reform and reforming that sector so as to prevent future wars. So it's that commission that started working with them in 2010. Is that through that commission actually before I got some scholarship to come to the US? Several big takeaways from the law. One, historically, the power of the land, what was called public land, was vested in the presidency. So the vast majority of Liberians, indigenous Liberians who own their land by traditional means, they did not have legal claim. For once to be able to own the land, there was a long process called travel certificate. The president need to give survey order, and the deed comes back to the president, and he signs it. For that reason, we have over 50% of the land in Bond County on a travel certificate, but the law did not recognize travel certificate as a claim to ownership of land, except through deeds. So it was problematic. What we did with that law was to make sure that in fact, since indigenous communities, some of them are pretty older than Liberia. Liberia is just 200 years old, but we can trace the people history up to 600, sometimes up to 800 years old. So for that reason, we took that power from the government and gave it to the people to say that if I ought to know their traditional boundaries and adjacent communities can attest to their existence, that become by law their deed, whether they have people or not. But going forward, they should set what we call a land management and development committee so that to manage their land on behalf of their community. and that committee should have representation of adults, youth, women, and all stakeholders within their community. When they form that, then they can be able to apply to the land authority that which we establish for them to issue them deed going forward. That's one takeaway. Private land remain private land. The land that is have been turned into a private holding by a deed, of course, paying taxes on the land. But then there was another thing we did in the law about mineral resources. We wanted to make sure that we protect these indigenous communities that have not benefited from Liberia for so long. It is in the Constitution that the mineral rights is in the hands of the government, and the government should extract the mineral resources for the development of Liberia. So, since the government had made use of that opportunity, the country had not been developed, we introduced a concept called free, prior, and informed consent because we could not go back to change the constitution that requires constitutional referendum. The process is very long. So, for that reason, we introduced a process called free, prior, and informed consent. It means that before the government can extract the resources, the community members need to agree their interest in that land, all their benefits will be laid out, and the government should agree and accompany before the extraction takes place. So those are two big away. The issue about people double selling land or taking land that don't belong to you. We did another law. It's called the Criminal Conveyance of Land in Liberia. That it was passed in 2015. That law is very strong. The law says the law punishes those who are involved into double sale of land, grabbing people land, government officials that are involved in it, but even greater punishment for surveyors who would involve themselves in that kind of behavior. So there's stringent punishment that if one sells land twice, or one buys land knowing fully well that land, the seller is not the owner, a surveyor that participates in the process, or a government official that uses his influence to influence that transaction. Strong punishment. Again, in Liberia, our problem is law enforcement. We have those good laws. To what extent the implementation has been? There have been some good news because, in fact, in the land right law, we also make sure that women land rights are protected. So, I think a year ago, I read a front page Africa News about a woman somewhere in Bon County. After her husband passed away, the in-law wanted to drive her out of the land because they feel that she's a woman, she doesn't have land ownership. But the law clearly gave women land right in that type of scenario through marital status, even traditional marriage. So there was a good Samaritan in our community who knew the law and informed the family members, if you drive this woman and her children off the land, I will take you people to court because by law she had right, and for that reason the guy afraid and the woman stay. That's the good news. Or sometimes the criminal conveyance of land in Liberia has been used to punish some people who have been involved in the double sale of land. For that reason, the land authority has a list of surveyors, registered surveyors, that anybody who doing land transaction in Liberia, you should use that list to pick up surveyors because those are people that are licensed and trained. Don't go somebody identify himself as a surveyor, you start doing business with them. The land authority advises you not to do that. So those are some of the big takeaway from what we work on in terms of the land right law. There are many things in there we can talk about, but those are some of the big lessons, at least for today, and for those of you in the diaspora.
Let me quickly go to these quick our questions here. You've already answered. Rivers S. Pro say you hail from Bone County. How much influence do you have over voters in your county? How can you help Tiawan win over voters in that county? You answer that. River says if you just got here, go back to the beginning of the show. Flomo Livingstone says, will your party support any opposition party that make it to the runoff if your political party doesn't make it to the runoff? I don't think you answered that. You were looking at being in the runoff. So quickly answer that.
Yes, we are still looking into the runoff, and that's our focus right now. If for any reason we don't end up in a runoff as an institution, the Liberian People Party, the hierarchy will get together and they will make a statement. They will make a decision from that. I'm trying to preempt that right now as an individual is premature and not sensible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moses, let's
Let's
maybe
maybe
Moses,
Moses, you
you on tonight.
on tonight.
We can't
We
hear
can't
you.
hear you.
Sorry, my
Sorry,
man.
Yeah.
Mama.
Moses came on earlier, but I don't know why.
Yeah,
Yeah, he came on earlier.
you
You
went off.
went off.
You went
You went
offline
offline.
by your own computer, and so I'm not Moses. Everybody else here is fine. You went offline by your computer when you got kicked up. Did your computer die? Did it die when you went off?
He's not even hearing you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me ask a question here. Doc, I think you did mention that, and I wanted to go to that. So it's good that you talk about it. You brought it up. Because one of the things that concerns us and a lot of Liberians, for that matter, is the issue of electoral violence and the potential for that violence, descending into a full blown crisis in the country. So that's the one question. Do you foresee any full blown violence as a consequence of the tension and the electoral violence incidents that have already happened? Somebody has already died, as a matter of fact, in Nima County from election related violence. And then I also wanted you to talk about the MOU that opposition political parties signed to quote unquote protect the vote. What does that actually mean? How is that going to work?
First one about electoral violence is sad that we see repeated kind of violence. I think around April and May, the Farmington Agreement was signed that political parties, political leaders, and their followers were going to be peaceful. But again, Liberia and under this administration, laws are signed, agreements are made, and not enforceable. Okay. Uh, on July 19, we staged a first ever in the history of Liberia an anti corruption campaign march. We wrote the justice ministers twice, and during the day of our campaign, we marched peacefully on the street of Monrovia. For us to gather at the intersection of the Providence Baptist Church and Asman Street, the Monrovia City Corporation charged us $600 as a rental fee. That was completely unfair. They didn't want us to do this. We still went ahead and paid the money. But as we gather, the program was going well. Everyone spoke. There's a girl called Jessica, who is one of the leaders of that group. She spoke very well. It was just when Councillor Gongloe was called to speak, we saw the stone. People threw stone at us. Some of our members were really badly hurt, and security helped us to get out of there on harm. However, we convened at Councillor Gongloe's office where he still read his statement and it was widely published almost a week. And that statement was in the newspaper. But we didn't see any condemnation, not from political parties, not from the government. We did not throw stone back ever since we are peaceful. Councillor Gongloe has been so much peaceful visiting the headquarters of every political parties as well as the CDC as a way of demonstrating peace. We are peaceful. What we see in the pending election is the bad blood that had developed between the ruling party and the United Party, the former ruling party and the current ruling party. They are the one. When the former one they were there, they knew the enjoyment they did. So they kicked them off. They are desperate to come back to continue their line of enjoyment at the detriment of the Liberian people. Those are there, they're resisting. So you can't come by now. We are here now. We will continue to enjoy. So for that reason, they are protecting their power. There's a bad blood developed between the two parties, and we see violence taking place both on social media, words of voice, but also in actions. So I think those of us in the diaspora and the international community, we should come down hard on these two political parties and their leaders to clearly tell them that you have to pull back from violence. All right. If Omer Joe Walker said nobody has monopoly over violence, that inciting violence. You're not supposed to say that. That's wrong. Don't say that. And also, President Weah, he should be strong enough to be able to step on violence, and making sure that he is prepared to participate in an election that is free and fair. That if he loses his election, he and his people, they should leave from power peacefully, not to try to perpetuate themselves in power. That would be really bad. So I think the whole thing we see here is the two political parties, the former ruling party and the current ruling party, they are the one that are instigating violence against each other all the time. And we all should be serious about it. The sign they're showing so far is not a sign of following the Farmington Declaration, not the spirit of the declaration. We're seeing the opposite. So the international community should warn them and should talk to them seriously so as they talk to their followers so that we don't end up in the violent situation. The international community should also be able to deploy as many observers in Liberia as possible, or deploy as many observers as possible. You did in South Africa and other areas. Deploy as many observers as possible. The reason why you're doing that and not observer that just jumping from one polling center to another, they're actually there until the votes are counted. The reason is one, serve a deterrent, because if an international observer is somewhere, there's unlikely that fraud will take place in that center. Two, when the election commission is pronouncing results, at least it will be validated by the international observers. Because only by themselves, some political parties are already expressing doubt, confidence in the commission. So to be able to validate their results, it means that we should have more observers so that at least they can validate or say contrary to what the commission is saying. These things are the one that will be able to bring about peaceful election. Without them, we see danger.
Okay.
Okay.
So let
So
me
let me
Sorry, talk a little bit about the MOU. The MOU to quote unquote protect the vote.
I think this is coming from a point of opposition. What areas can we see at least to start to collaborate? Because all of us we've seen that this government is a failure. So that's why each of us, we have our own plan and way of looking at how we want to change the country. So we want to replace the incumbent. But there are areas, even within the midst of the different approaches we have and what we're telling the Liberian people, there are areas of collaboration. One of the areas is, can we have a way that we can be able to inform one another on poll watching? So that if one a political party is weak in the area, the others will be strong enough to be able to validate the result from there. And when they are in a problem, they will be able to raise that problem very clearly and quickly. The MOU is geared towards addressing that. Areas that we can find to collaborate, us versus really the incumbent. Us versus the incumbent. That's the area, one area we can collaborate. But it also set the stage for greater collaboration, because this is a way for us to start talking to each other. So that if one end up in the runoff, the others will come on board really quickly. So it's very strategic that way.
Can you tell us the political parties that's in the MOU?
I think that there was a lot there. I don't have all of them in the US, so I didn't attend the signing ceremony to see all of them.
Okay.
So we can
I have it. I wanted you to talk about it.
Yeah.
Volcano, you want me to keep going? Do you hear me, Volcano?
I'm hearing you. I'm just the echo. Go ahead.
There's echo. Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks like Moses keep texting, say he's trying to get back in, but
We'll soon be wrapping up.
Yeah, so it's okay.
5 more
We
minutes
can
with
deal
that.
with that. So Dr. Yarkpawolo, you said that if you and Councillor Gongloe win, one of the first things you would do is to insist that you and him and everybody else in the government declare their assets before assuming office. Are you considering declaring your assets even before the election as a way of signaling to the Liberian people that, hey, this is what we do, we are transparent, this is where we are, and we'll begin. You don't have to do it by law, but are you considering that as something just to signal again that prosperity is coming.
Even if we win the presidency and declare our assets and make it public at that point, it will not stay be by law. At least the public declaration of it. This is a goodwill of us setting the stage that what we're getting on is a serious business, and we are saying we are not corrupt. So we're telling the Liberian people, look what we have first, and we're moving ahead, right? In terms of asset declaration, we have done that. In terms of because it's part of the requirement, you have to declare the assets to the National Election Commission, and which we've done so far. We declare them as a weight of decision. We say when we win the presidency, before assuming office, we declare our assets. That's what we have decided.
All right.
All right.
Thank. Let me just
quick
you before we can wrap down. It is clear that we have 20 candidates in the race, but I think the prospect for 2029 is still in the balance. Both of you will still be young men, particularly you. I know Gongloe is in his 60s now, probably early 60s, but at least it won't be 80. If this doesn't work, doesn't it put you right there to make the case for 2029? Because I think I was in a conversation with someone who said that, listen, for Liberian politics, it's like you got to be there for the first time, get your feet wet, let the people know you small, then you come back and make the case. So if it doesn't work this time, are you guys eyeing 2029? That's my question.
I think Councilor Gongloe turned 67, I think, don't go August 6th. So by 2029, I think it'll be like 73, right?
Yeah.
I'm 40, yeah, I'm 42. I'm 42. So you add 6 years to my age up to that point, 48. So, but the point here is that some Liberians say we are late. We counter and say we are not late. The vote is not cast. It's October 6th. Our number is number 6. And October 10th, our number is number 6. We are seeing the country is in the ICU. I don't know why this country really want to go through this thing for the next 6 years before you say, oh, we want to suffer for 6 more years, then before you can come. A lot of Liberians are not thinking that way. 6 years is too long. They want to get the suffering off their back. They want their kids to go to school. They want good policy. They want to make sure they have job. 6 years is too long. So we're not waiting for the whole 6 years to finish then before. No, we are in it now. This is the right time. So we're asking them to get up and go and vote.
Okay. So we end here, sir. We hope that we can catch you in the future as we move toward the elections. Maybe I can have a one-on-one with you and Councilor Gongloe together in Liberia. I should be there before the October 10th elections. Hopefully I can get that situated when I'm in the country to come back in the issues room at that point. But we have to go, and so we have a segment here called What Type of Country Is This? We'd like to initiate you, okay? It's that segment that throws some of the humor of our country out here so we can laugh about it. Time is far spent, so we'll go into it. And I picked 2 from you. Maybe you didn't even notice it. What type of country is this? Where people graduate from the University of Liberia, no job, and they go sit at a Hatay spot and just argue all day and go home on angry or empty stomach. What type of country is this?
It is a country that that doesn't give its young people hope, but in a kind of humorous way, because then what it does is that it's a country that turns itself into politics. Because when they sit at Aisha, that is to talk about only politics to talk about the whole day, and sometimes the innovation, what is supposed to be thinking about, those are not discussed anymore. The sciences, and business entrepreneurship, they are not discussed. It's about politics and who will come to Aisha today, and they can question him, drive by on Hatai. It's a country that turned itself into politics and make itself political.
So what
So
type of
what
country is
country is
this?
this?
Uh,
Uh,
where one of the candidates says that the country is in the ICU. Can you imagine a whole country in the ICU? What type of country is
country
that?
is this?
That country is called Liberia. It's in the ICU under the presidency of George Weah.
Alfonso,
Alfonso,
you gotta
you
unmute
gotta mute your
I'm muted.
I'm
I'm
muted.
muted.
I'm
I'm
muted.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
What kind of country is there? People gotta take. If the country is so sick that people and so dirty, the people gotta take broom to come. What? What? You're not rescue or where you are? You're fixer or you're what?
Uh, we
Everybody
are
has
called
Everybody
to
has
take
we are
broom.
called Broom One and Broom Two, or some people call us Super One and Super Two.
Or the
or the
integrity team
integrated
or whatever.
team or whatever.
Integrity One and Integrity Two. That's the name. That country is a country that need people who have integrity to deliver it, as Shutton said, from the ICU. So it's a country that is dirty. It's dirty figuratively. It's dirty economically when most of the citizens cannot find job, they are suffering. It's dirty, and they say that it's one of the dirtiest country in the world, actually, by statistics. And so the broom, the broom is used for cleaning, right? When our homes and things are dirty, what do we use? We use a broom.
to sweep.
To sweep.
So yes, so our broom is to sweep the dirtiness out of Liberia.
All right, let's
All
go
right,
back.
let's go back to
What country is
country
this?
is
We have Thomas Awaji here. What type of country is this where you see the same people at every political rally? The same people. What type of country is this? Let's go to Shaggy McAfee hashtag. What type of country is this? That the president couldn't put $5 million together for his first two campaigns, but now he has put $50 million together for this campaign. What type of country is this?
It's a country that condones impunity. It's a country that when one who doesn't have $1 million, when it comes to power, they take on 6 million. Some people start to clap for him, especially when he tried to fool them with money. Some people say this is a good thing. But it's also a country that people are saying this is not the way to go. You bring your money, that's our money. That's not even your money. It's actually Liberian people money. You have been stealing it. You're bringing some to us. We're eating now, and on October 10th, we'll vote you out.
Okay.
okay.
Thomas Awaji says, what type of country is this? Where candidates are carrying brooms, but the city is filled with garbage. How do you answer that?
Yeah, that's really funny. Oh my! Should we take the broom and start sweeping the central part of Monrovia? We do that sometimes symbiotically, though. But we take our broom and start to collect the garbage.
Dr. Yagbawolo, have you also
also
heard the
heard
German saying, but you sweeping, you're not picking out the dead, you just gather the dead and leave it there?
The other sweeping when we see it will be clean though, because we'll gather the dirt, we'll throw the dirt to where the dirt is supposed to be. The dirt in this case, that's Salt Beach. We will expand Salt Beach. The dirt will go to Salt Beach. I'm telling you that the dirt will go away. The dirt will not be dwelling among us and be making us dirty more.
You need to reopen better, yala. Let me go back to Shaggy McAfee. What type of country is this? That everyone has tunnel vision. What I can get today, what I can eat today versus how can I eat tomorrow and next week and next month? How can I save for some money for the future? How can I protect the children's future versus letting them sell on the streets during school hours? What type of country is this? Ram Snodden, what type of country is this? When we heard Dr. Yarkpawolo, who gave us gun boot and this one has broom. You remember Yarkpawolo who gave you gun?
Liberia gave me gun.
If you
The other
have
Yabaro does not have a gun, he has a broom.
so let ask the so let ask the who gave him broom.
Yabaro, who gave you broom? Gongloe gave me broom. Tiawan Gongloe is the one that gave me the broom. Yabaro, who gave you gun? Gongloe gave me broom.
So we got Ghana door. What type of country is this? Where the president separates his supporters and citizens into seditions and reactions. What type of country is this? What type of country is this? Shaggy McCaffrey comes back and says that the broom you're holding is too small. It can only sweep one of the 49 condominiums before it breaks. we have 49 condominiums. Go ahead.
You know why? No, I mean the broom. It's not that small though, but symbolically the broom has to be lighter and smaller than the broom carrier himself, because the broom is very big. And he has a hand to take it. I say, and I take the broom sometimes. I say, "Cousin, please hold your broom. A little bit too heavy." He has a giant broom, but symbolically, I'm helping him. I'm a vice presidential candidate. Symbolically, my broom cannot be bigger than his broom. So my broom is a little bit less than his broom. But it's powerful though. Don't see it like this though. It will sweep. It will sweep down though. Ah, yeah.
Well, yes, just the first on our show here that we infuse after all the real hard talk in politics. We just point out some of the things that happen in the country that is common to Liberia. If you remembered, we always say that President Taylor said there are three kinds of people: the white man, the black man, and the Liberian man. And so you can see it from our politics, our environment, culture, and
You wanted me to respond?
yeah. Say something.
Oh yes, yes, and the rectors, the testers are right on point on what kind of country is this, you know, but but that's Liberia. But the thing about it is, it's also a country of hope, right? It's also a country of resilient people. It's also a country that eventually will give their power to leaders who are servant leaders who deeply care about the future of the country above their individual needs. So the hope is there. Why is it that all the humorous, what kind of country is this, and we laugh about it? The serious part about it is that it's also a country of hope. It's a country that led the independent African movement. It's a country that sued and when diplomacy failed. It's a country where Mandela and the South African apartheid and everything that was happening over there, giving refuge to Mandela in Monrovia. And it's a country that had one of the first universities on the whole African continent, and where people came from all over the world all over Africa to study. It's a country that gained its independence first, giving hope when black men were considered to be inferior of self-governance. It's a country that raised above the tide and told the world that black men were capable of self-governance, and has stood up the test of time up to this point. Is it that it has been independent economically? No, it has been independent politically. But the broom is coming to add the economic independent part of the sovereignty of Liberia. So we are happy to be part of this story, and this story, it will end good for Liberia.
Thank you,
Thank
Doc.
you, Doc.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much for
much
your
for your
time.
time.
Appreciate it. I thought it was a very great conversation. You're always welcome in the issues room. You got your man here, Alphonso. He's closer to Councillor Gongloe. Councillor Gongloe is a big brother to me too. This is about saving our country, honestly, and so this kind of conversation is necessary. Why it is true that uh, people think that we're taking sides here. We're not. We just want to bring uh, the country to the forefront. And I like how you ended. And you reminded Liberians of the importance of Liberia now that it has become this type of country that is a laughing stock, that seems to be going nowhere, that is in the ICU. But if we can rekindle on the good old days when Liberia was the first independent country on the continent and has brought independence to many of the African countries today, we set the tune for leadership, we set the tune for diplomacy, we set the tune for foreign participation in the Committee of Nations. So many things we can talk about. We've made some records here, but unfortunately, when there's bad governance, overrun by corruption, that's what we have. Young men sitting at their tire spot arguing all day with no hope for tomorrow. Zogos waiting for nighttime to go and arm rob people when police are standing on street corners in faded blue uniform that turn gray and no logistics to fight crime. That's where we are, and there's no secret about it. Go
It's
ahead.
true.
Yeah, yeah. Great to have you on the show. I think Volcano said it all. You're always welcome here. This is a platform that gives opportunity to everybody. It's a public service to educate our people and give politicians of all shade, but not just politicians. Everybody an opportunity really to come and share their thoughts and ideas about how we can move our country and our society forward. Again, you're always welcome. I think the conversation was very informative, and I'm sure the listening public got a lot from it. So thank you.
Wonderful, Jeremy. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you tonight. I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. I think the platform is good. The questions were good. The questions are policy driven. They are recorded. So if we win the presidency tomorrow, this is accountability. And so that if we do contrary, um, you can bring us to book. So I think the conversation, the question, line of questions are heavily policy driven. They are about accountability. They are about clear direction as to what vision a candidate has for Liberia. I enjoyed the time on the show tonight. I pray that God will bless you. Continue doing what you're doing. I know there are challenges along the way, but our ability to solve our problems are greater than the challenges we face. So I trust your company. I trust you people to continue this. Let's continue this for the betterment of Liberia. I'm doing my part. You are doing your part. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Take
leave.
leave.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Alfonso, we've been having serious problem with Moses that Shaki McCaffrey had to say here. What type of country is this that Moses now need $1,500 to buy a MacBook to be on TIR? And you know that what happened to me. You see, I had to go deep. Now I'm using the MacBook. Everything is stable.
I
I
know.
mean, super sharp, no problem. Then he want to blame it on me, asking me why he get
Yeah,
this sound.
yeah.
What I got to do with your sound? The computer got kicked off. I mean, uh, he tried to attribute it to me. And he's not
Yeah.
backstage. I was going to bring him in to see if we can test it out again. But what type of country is this? Thomas
Maybe the,
Awaji says where Moses is having internet issues. I think it's a combination of internet and the computer because on
and the
few occasions
computer.
now he's being kicked out. If you recall, right, Alfonso?
Yeah, yeah. It might be again. It might be. I don't know. Maybe he needed, as I believe, as Thomas Awaji was saying, he needed to reboot the computer
No,
and
that will
work
fudge him on
with.
you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, reboot, turn it off, and turn it back on. But he needed to do that.
What type
Unfortunately.
of country is this? Emmanuel Jackson just spotted this one here. The NTA managing director doesn't know what in the entity's budget. What is this?
You know why he won't enter the budget? What are his programs?
What type of country is this? That faded blue can't even fight corruption because they are broke and haven't gotten paid
Moses.
for months. Now faded blue is involved in corruption to feed themselves to be able to fight corruption. What type of country is this? But Alfonso, good to see you, my man. Let's hope that Moses will remedy the issue.
Moses say he's backstage.
He's not there. It's just his studio. Look at
Oh,
Moses is not in his studio.
he don't see we see your studio, Moses, but we don't see you in the studio. He coming so you can if you have a minute, you won't go now. You have a minute to troubleshoot him.
No, we got to go backstage. We got to end the show. We can't do that live.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. But enter stage, enter studio. Yeah.
Let him just stay. Let's end the show and then
Okay.
finish
All
up.
right. Okay.
So
Cool.
again, we say thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. We appreciate your time, your viewership. Please share the word. Let folks know about the issues room. We've been around. This September 14 will make us 2 years here on social media podcast. You can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on Facebook, our issues room page as well. We say thank you to every one of you who showed up here tonight. We've ran down the list for a few people. Let me just introduce, some of the newer folks who just came in. I saw a person by the name of Moses Ware. Welcome. Thank you for coming through here tonight. I also saw someone by the name of Manando, or Manan. Actually, it's Manando. Say thank you, Ramps Norton, on and off. It's good to see you, my brother. Everybody's busy, so we understand Rivers Pro, of course, yes. Jerry Colette, it was good seeing you here, and the rest of all of you who showed up here tonight. We say thank you, and thank you. Godwin Doe, thank you. Good night, everyone. We'll be back here on Friday. Aja, the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas, will be hosting the convention next week, and it's going to be in the city of Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center area, Brooklyn Park, in the state of Minnesota. Elections is the elections year, so uh, current President Joe Mason will be turning the helm of leadership over to whoever wins the presidency of Alja. He has led the organization for 4 years, and his time is over. Before Mr. Mason, he was preceded by Moses Sandy, who also led the organization for 4 years. So as it is right now, we'll be bringing the Alja leadership here on Friday to discuss the convention. Aja's involvement in the elections. In fact, Aja is sending pool washers to Liberia. We'll have that conversation. We'll talk about Aja's role in showing that we have a free, fair, and democratic elections in the country. So again, thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone.